Okay, I'm actually working in French Polynesia with a French research institute, and we are monitoring the effect of shark feeding on the ecology of the lemon sharks, sickle-fin lemon sharks over there. So basically our study is based on a first step, which is about photo identification of these animals. We have been achieving that, and now we have 36 animals that we can differentiate one from each other. Second step is to look at the behavior of these animals that are coming on a daily basis on a shark feeding site for being seen by divers, tourist divers. Actually, we look at the behavior in terms of aggressiveness between sharks, aggressiveness toward man, people. We also look at we do some DNA sampling on these animals, which means that we will be able also to look at a side effect of shark feeding, which could be somehow the inbreeding. Actually, the question that we are asking ourselves is, shark feeding is nice, it attracts people, you can make money with that, but what is the effect on the animals, you know? Mm-hmm. What is about the sake of the animals? So basically we are looking at shark feeding. Does shark feeding keep the animal aggregated and prevent them from playing the role that they are supposed to play around the ecosystem? Mm-hmm. For example, does shark feeding keep the male, for example, during the mating season, instead of allowing them to go away and spreading their genetics all around? Do they keep them in that same place, increasing the risk of inbreeding? That is the question that we are asking ourselves.
All right.
Now there is another fold of that study, which is about the economic valuation. Actually, we made a very basic calculation of the money, of the income that sharks were bringing to Murea Island in French Polynesia, where you have these 3 diving centers that are using, you know, the shark feeding site. And actually we came out with a figure quite interesting, which is that any resident shark, because we have sharks that are more resident than others, could bring something like about 50,000 US per year, you know. Mm-hmm. Each shark, you can multiply that, of course, by the number of sharks, which is about 40 sharks, so you have an idea about the amount of money which is involved in that. So actually, we think that approach of calculating the economic valuation, it's a very good point for advocacy, you know, of shark conservation, mm-hmm. because we think that sometimes biologists and scientists, they use biological arguments, you know, to support the conservation of these animals for which the role in the ecosystem is critical. We know that. And actually, we are not enough efficient, I would say, with policy makers. So using economics and showing the interest, economical interest of this animal, we think that may bring some more efficiency, you know, in terms of advocacy for their conservation.
Absolutely. How did you come up with this number of $50,000 per shark, per resident shark?
Actually, it's a very basic calculation which is based on the cost of a dive over there in French Polynesia. So we have taken the number of dives and we have multiplied it, of course, by the cost of a dive. We also take into consideration the hotel where most of these people, they have to stay, you know. We take into consideration the food, accommodation, everything, you know. But we are not, actually, we think we have to go further in terms of economic valuation. We think that we should also take into consideration other aspects that are more difficult to calculate, such as, you know, the cultural value of the sharks, which mm-hmm. is very important in French Polynesia. You have these very nice tattoos, you know, mm-hmm. so that is also important. We have what we call the bequest value, you know, mm-hmm. these kind of things. The indirect value of the sharks, like in other words, keeping the sharks in the ecosystem, we make the ecosystem healthier. So we have bigger fish, so the fishermen that are catching this fish, they make more money out of this fish, thanks to the shark, which is, of course, an indirect value. So we think that we have to put all these values all together to get what we call the total economical value of a lemon shark. And definitely the total economical value, which will be much higher than 50,000 US per shark. It might be multiplied by 3 or 4.
Wow, those numbers are just amazing, because you often hear the people on the side of fishing these animals saying, yes, conservation is all well and good, but look how much money we can make by selling their fins and selling their meat. So
the message we are now spreading in French Polynesia, where the shark are supposed to be to be protected, but there is some poaching still, and people, you know, catching them for selling jaws, for example, or even the flesh. We are telling them, when you catch 3 meters lemon shark, okay, you will make, let's say, 40,000 francs, which is let's say about 300 US. But if you keep that same shark alive, that same shark can bring you much more money on a year basis, even through the fish, the bigger fish that you will collect, or even through the money that your wife will make because she's just working in a diving center or in a hotel, which is on the same island.
All right. Is there anything else you would like to say about your research, or about these lemon sharks, or about using economics as an argument for conservation?
Well, yeah, I think the last point is it's very nice to speak about money, to speak about advocacy for shark conservation, but we have to be very careful with shark feeding, about the effect, again, that shark feeding can have on the animals. And the animals must remain also a focus for us, and we have to make sure that we manage properly, you know, the shark feeding, like banning it or stopping it for the mating season, for example. All that to decrease the risk of negative interaction with the ecology of these animals.